which is how absolutely fucking terrible this Avatar: The Last Airbender remake is gonna be. All right, I have to have my venting moment about this because this is one of my favorite pieces of media of all time. Okay. Avatar: Last Airbender has a special place in my heart, and it always will have a special place in my heart until the end of time. It is an amazing piece of media, okay? And I already knew that the live action was gonna suck. I already knew it was gonna be bad, but now I've lost all hope. Whatever you say about this, I agree. I think that this is, you watch Dragon Prince? I did. The animation was so ugly. Dragon Prince has the same problem that like basically any piece of media has for me, which is I watched the first season and it was good. And I was like, yeah, that was a pretty good season. Yeah. And then when the second season came out, I didn't care anymore. I was like, yeah, I'll watch it eventually, I guess. I enjoyed live action One Piece. I've only watched the first episode of the live action One Piece. So I don't feel like that's enough to judge off of just one episode. And like a pilot episode's hard to do. Like the One Piece people really tried to keep it authentic. I think this all stems from people thinking that animation is not a valid medium, or that animation is not a valid medium for telling adult stories or stories that adults can enjoy. But in my opinion, there is no live action that will ever be better than the animation version of Avatar: Last Airbender, because people, human beings, have a certain level of a weight to us, and it's hard to alter that. It's hard to make someone look feather light, and it's hard to make people look sturdy, like unmovable, without making them gigantic. I feel like in animation, you can make something look very heavy in a way that is kind of hard to do in real life. Most props don't look realistic, or they always look very light. They don't feel like they actually carry any weight. And in the same vein, I think Avatar is gonna like fuck this up really bad. They're not gonna make Aang feel feather light. Like there are scenes in Avatar where he looks like he is weightless. Like there's no weight to him. Like he can just go wherever he wants. And it's gonna be hard to translate that, in my opinion. Same thing with Toph. Toph is a good example of the absolute opposite, where she's just this tiny little girl, but she looks sturdy as a fucking rock, completely unmovable. I think they're gonna have a hard time translating that. I don't think it's gonna work. I just don't understand why they do this. Okay, Avatar: Last Airbender is already perfect. It doesn't need a live action. I will say one thing, the costume design looks like it really put in some work and effort, because the costumes so far that I've seen all looked really good. IMO. So far, they've all looked really good. The story for Avatar was made for an animated medium, and all the character design flow from that. Live action's always gonna feel scuffed. Yeah. I'm just sad because there are people that have never watched The Last Airbender, and they're gonna, like, their first experience is gonna be with this terrible show. It's sad. I think that I would be super down to get a remake of it, but I would want it to be animated. Kind of like Trigun. Trigun got a update, I guess, a patch note, and it doesn't look like shit anymore. I think that would be cool, because I think there's a lot more they could do visually now, like the first season of The Last Airbender. I swear to God, it's like 280p. I don't remember it being so not high definition. So that with like some crazy budget would be super cool. But like I wouldn't want anything to be changed. I would just want like a visual like patch note. I would want them to like Diablo 3 it or Diablo 2 it. Whatever, whichever Diablo. Was it? No, actually it was Diablo 1. Full-blown visual overhaul. Castlevania animators would do a great job on a remake. The one problem with Castlevania, why are the walk scenes so scuffed? The fight scenes look great and the walk scenes are like, as everyone here already mentioned, they're removing Sokka's sexism. For anyone who hasn't seen it, Sokka's character is very sexist initially, and it makes sense within his story because him and his sister come from a very small village that's had basically their entire culture erased, and the only bit of his family that he even still has in his life is his dad saying, hey, you know, protect those around you. But protect those around you more emotional than physical necessarily. So he grew up in a specific culture and he didn't see much of the world outside of that. And he's a teenager. Like all the characters are like 13, 14, of course. And then he gets humbled so many times that he realizes, oh my God, I'm such a tool. Can I apologize for being such a tool? Can you teach me how to fight? What do I need to do? I'm sorry. Like, oh. Suki humbled the fuck out of him. I know. Also, I don't feel like his sexism was so obscene that it needed to be toned down. His sexism was very, mild, I want to say. It was very obvious that he was a huge misogynist, but yeah, it was very juvenile. There was no part of Sokka where he's like, everybody knows that the female brain can only picture hypergamy. He was not going off about canthal tilt. His stance was just, yeah, but men are just better. Men can just do everything better than you. Women just, you know, they're meant to be dainty. That's just how it is. Girls be having them cooties. And that was it, which is very mild. I'm sad about that, I guess. I'm sad about that. I thought that that was a fun character arc. I thought that that gave him some nice character. And all the other characters grow in different ways. Sokka basically only has like 2 main arcs. Internal, which is the sexism and then dealing with feeling inferior to those around him because he's the only person that has no bending. And those 2 internal conflicts are just... Of course, there's all the other arcs that he has, but those are all, like, in my opinion, more external than internal. So I thought it was a good story. I don't know. Are they removing the sexism from the North Pole arc too? Because that's a massive part of the story there. Yeah, so I guess really quick on this note, very fast. It's like childish misogyny you would expect in kids in like the 90s, not podcaster misogyny. Very different flavor of misogyny. But there is, for anyone who hasn't seen it, a big part of like one of the characters, his sister Katara, she goes to the North Pole to learn real waterbending because she's never had an official teacher. So her waterbending is ass because she's never had anyone train her, and she's all completely self-trained, and she lives in a tiny village where there isn't that much available for her to learn from. And I think when Sokka has his whole character arc and then they go to the North Pole and the show's already primed you into recognizing that there are people in the world that are just gonna hate you for no reason or think that you are less than for no reason. I think that the Katara's teacher hits. It hits after that. It feels a lot more real, and it doesn't feel superficial, if that makes sense. It wasn't just like, oh, also, this guy just happens to hate women. It sets up an entire culture, it sets up the characters, it primes you, and then I think that there's an interesting area there with like Sokka where he gets to see what it looks like to be on the receiving end of that. That's cool. I thought that was cool. I saw that and I thought, okay, maybe they're gonna do something else with his character. I'm down. In my opinion, Sokka is more than just like who he was in the first season and the arcs that he went through in the first season, so maybe they'll do something else with him. This part, this is what killed me. Remember I saw on my timeline that they're gonna show the genocide, the Airbender genocide, and I'm like, I think most people would agree with me when I say sometimes not showing that makes it hit harder. Kind of like for anyone here who reads or watches Stephen King, the endings are always bad because the entire piece of media is so scary and creepy and horror, and then the reveal is always so stupid. It's like, actually, that's just some guy. Actually, it's spacecraft. Actually, you know, sometimes knowing less is better. And in my opinion, knowing less puts you in the shoes of Aang a lot better. It makes you feel like you are one of the characters where you look around and it's like, what the f happened here? Like horrors beyond comprehension. So that's just my 2 cents. This, I think, is like the nail in the coffin. Taking away Aang's childlike whimsy. I would say that this is one of the major themes in the story. That Aang is just a kid. He's just a 12-year-old kid, and he just wants to have fun and enjoy life, and he doesn't want this responsibility. He didn't want to be master of all the elements. He just wanted to be a kid. And over the course of the story, he realizes, and he's put in so many situations where other people look to him and say, well, you're supposed to be master of all the elements. You tell us what's right and what's wrong. And his stance is, I don't know, I'm just a fucking kid. I don't know what to do. I don't know any of this shit. If you take that away from him and he's serious the entire time, his character is so much more flat. And I don't want to give spoilers because if anyone who hasn't seen it, you need to go see it immediately. Like the end fight is the epitome of that. Everyone around him telling him he needs to completely give up on his pacifist, childlike whimsy, and him recognizing that he does need to take responsibility and he has a obligation to help and to stop the Fire Nation, but refusing to give up that part of his humanity. It's like, that's it. That's it. That's his whole character. Oh, and you're just gonna take the away. I've yet to watch it. Oh my god. Oh, in my opinion, there's no show that will ever like really top it. There's no show that can ever top the animated version. I've seen a lot of shows that I thought were good. In and of itself, it's just like such a perfect masterpiece. And I feel like that's hard. That's hard to find. So Aang is just an enlightened centrist until he isn't? No, he's just a kid who doesn't want those responsibilities, and he's forced to take those responsibilities on, and he's forced to deal with like a desire to be a pacifist, but everyone around him telling him he is not allowed to be a pacifist. It's a good character. It's a good character. And you need to grow the fuck up and fight. Shinji, get in the robot. I feel like they're gonna butcher Azula's character as well. They're not gonna do a good job. I also feel like they're gonna butcher Katara's character. Katara's character is probably top 5 best written women in any piece of media ever. I can't even think of a female character that's written better than she is. She's just written so fucking well because she has a real personality that feels human, right? But she has her flaws. And it's cool. Oh man. Like, don't get me wrong, I am a Toph simp. You will not see anyone simp harder for Toph. But Toph's character is a little bit easier to write, I want to say. Obviously, it's not easy to write good characters, but her character is easier to write. I think accurately writing a character that has taken on, without her consent, the mother role and dealing with those frustrations in a way that is compelling and all of the things that come with that, it's very cool. Because usually when they write characters like that are expected to do everything and expected to be the adult of the group, they're usually very boring, or they don't have any real flaws, or their biggest flaw is that they work too damn hard. But that's not what happens in her character. She's forced to take on all these responsibilities, so she is a very serious person, and she has to learn how to be less serious. And she also has a very big ego problem. And that's cool, you know? To write a character that you like, who has a fucking ego and gets frustrated when she's denied stuff, it's so fun. It's such a nice... I could talk about this show forever. I'm sorry. We decided to make Aang's narrative drive a little clearer. In the first season of the animated series, he's going from place to place looking for adventures. He even says, first we gotta go and ride an elephant koi. It's a little looser, as befits a cartoon. No, it's not that it befits a cartoon. It's that it befits a 12-year-old. Spoiler alert, the reason he went missing for 100 years is because he didn't know what the f to do. And he wanted to run away from that problem because he just wants to be a kid. That's the entire reason that the show exists the way that it does. That's literally the whole show. It's escapism manifest. We needed to make sure that he had a drive from the start. And so that's a change we made. Also, essentially, we gave him the vision of what's going to happen. And he says, I have to get to the Northern Water Tribe to stop this from happening. That gives him much more narrative compulsion going forward, as opposed to, let's make a detour and go ride this elephant koi, that type of thing. So that's something, again, that's part of the process going on from Nickelodeon cartoon to Netflix serialized drama. I fucking hate you people. I hate you people. Grr. His character was perfect. His character was literally perfect. In my opinion, there is no reason any of the characters should be changed. But that's also the reason why, in my opinion, this is probably the best show that will ever exist, ever. I don't care how many Breaking Bads come out. I don't care how many Game of Thrones come out. This is still gonna be like, at the very least, top 3 forever. And it's because it's so hard to write good characters. It is unbelievably difficult. I don't know if you guys have tried to write a script. It's hard. And most shows don't do a great job. Last Airbender does it perfectly. They make every character feel compelling. In addition to having a good plot, in addition to having a good universe, in addition to caring about all the little details and having all the side characters still be fun. You don't have to skip the filler in The Last Airbender because the filler is good too. Because the characters are good. And you want to watch them do basically whatever. Secret tunnel, yeah. I remember when I learned that all of the different element nations are based off of different Asian cultures or different countries in Asia, and that the fighting styles popular in these regions were repurposed for the bending. So cool. So fucking cool. Are you kidding me? That each different type of bending is a different type of martial arts? It's just done really well. And they heavily take from cultures. I believe that the entirety of the airbending nomads, it's supposed to be very heavily based on like Tibetan culture, and the Fire Nation is supposed to be heavily influenced by like Japanese culture, and the Earthbending Nation is supposed to be heavily influenced by it's supposed to be like China is the equivalent. I don't know. I love this. I love this show, and I could cry about this. All right, I could talk about this for forever. Azula was my favorite. Who didn't? If you didn't like Azula, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. What bending would you want to have? Duh, water. That's broken. Are you kidding me? That's not balanced. You can do so much. Are you kidding me? Yeah, but I can fly with air? Dude, yeah, but you can just become like a water tornado, or I guess hurricane, and just float around to places. Flying? I don't like getting wet. With waterbending, you can bloodbend an airbender into carrying you in the air. No one talks about how airbenders can suffocate people. FR though, FR. I just feel like waterbending, you got like a lot at your disposal, right? Because water is basically everywhere, and you get bloodbending, and you get healing powers. Oh, you also get ice with that. Are you kidding me? You get so much. You good if you get caught in the rain without an umbrella. FR. You can easily waterboard people, so it's CIA approved. What more could you want, man? It's my favorite animated TV show that has ever been made. I don't think anything will ever top it, in my humble opinion.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a tremendous opportunity here. Denims on Twitch is the best, believe me. Top of the line. Nobody does it better than Denims. Nobody. And let me tell you, you're going to love it. It's fantastic. So do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It's going to be huge, I tell you. Subscribe to Denims on Twitch. Won't regret it, folks. Thank you very much appreciated.